Good afternoon. I always check the clock when I say that because I'm never sure when I say it, whether it's the afternoon or the evening, but it's the afternoon. Good afternoon. I have two purchases here. Bought separately. I bought one 2 days ago and I bought one today. Both cheapies. Cheapies. Cheap. Inexpensive. The first of which, one of which I'm taking the price and stickers off of just now. Oh, there's another price sticker beneath one of the stickers. Um, yeah, one of them is an example of probably my favorite kind of game to buy, as it turns out. Um, I'll stop picking at this bloody thing for a minute. Banjo Kazooie Grunty's Revenge, whose label is not being treated very kindly by the lighting in here. Now, when I say that this is my favourite, perhaps, kind of game to buy, it's a Game Boy game. It's an unboxed Game Boy game, which has. I suppose it's the kind of game I have the most history with, like rifling through shops, collections for, and in the way that, like, I suppose record collectors do. They have to rifle through things. That's the only game that I've ever had to do that with. The whole drawer thing I've talked about before. And it's also, I mean, it's a game I only half remember. I have never played this. I faintly remember, I think I remember it being advertised or like previewed or reviewed in a magazine that I might have read at the time. But I don't really remember anything about it. I can kind of imagine, I'm imagining a kind of semi 3D, maybe isometric type thing. I don't think it was a side scrolling, like Donkey Kong Country type thing. Um, and to be honest, my assumption is that this is a game that didn't really need to exist. And that is quite typical of certain kinds of Game Boy games. Especially versions of, well, not even versions, not like ports, but installments in series who did not have their origin on the Game Boy or a handheld platform. They, you know, they are, I think their libraries are more susceptible to, uh, or some kind of greater exemplify a kind of cynicism of just, we can release a game of this kind on this console. We can make a version of this game for the Game Boy. Why not? People will buy it. Um, Maybe this is a good game. Maybe it's a good game in spite of it being relatively primitive. But there's nothing about Banjo Kazooie itself um, that you could, the things that make it good gameplay wise. There's a lot in terms of its humor that and its style that there's no reason you couldn't develop in a handheld game. But in terms of its gameplay, you couldn't do that on the Game Boy Advance. I never saw that sort of thing done unless they went in a really different direction with, which I don't know. But I kind of faintly remember it being, I'm thinking the Game Boy Advance Spyro games. That's kind of, I suppose, what I'm thinking of, which I only played for a few minutes at a friend's house once, and they just seemed like worse, more limited, kind of just restricted versions of the PlayStation games. But now that I'm thinking of it, I would totally buy them if they turned up because that's just an oddity in the same way. Although I remember them too clearly. There was two of them. It was like ice and fire, wasn't it? I remember them too clearly for them to be quite as interesting as when I saw this coming up. I saw this. And I had speaking of Spyro, I had a wee uh, credit slip from trading that in, and I in addition to that, I contributed £1, so this really didn't cost me anything. I will play it because it's. I'd be interested to see what it's like. It might be good, in which case, and it will be good. If it's good, it will be good in spite of being completely different to the N64 game I expect. So that's kind of interesting. But I'm not expecting an enormous amount out of it. But I suppose it's this idea of building a. I was thinking about this the last day or two. I suppose the idea with my collecting is building a library as eclectic and unexpected to myself as as its collection spans several years, such that I forget what I do and do not have. One as eclectic as the selection of games you might see in a well-stocked second-hand game shop drawer, for example, or on its shelves. That doesn't. It doesn't have. I want it to be curated to some extent. Curated, restricted in some sense, but eclectic enough that I will look at it and say, I forgot about that game, and what a weird game. But I don't have any interest in having everything for a console, because then you end up buying a lot of wrestling games, or Frogger Beyond for the GameCube was the thing that really. It was I saw it in CX for like over 100. I think it was £130, and that really. It's like a cautionary tale of a certain kind of collecting. I suppose there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not. Well, am I judging? I don't know. I suppose it's impossible not to judge in these respects in some way, but not my kind of collecting. I don't think. We'll see. Anyway, so Banjo-Kazooie, Grunty's Revenge. Just a strange game to exist in my. That's my presumption. That's my impression, and that's what made me want to buy it. So, no offense, no offense meant there. The next one is not an oddity really in the slightest. Kingdom Hearts for less than £7.99, which is the old sticker on it. This was £4. Is that right? Is that what it was? £4. Yeah, I mean, I've seen this. It's not rare, obviously, and yet again, it is a game that I had when it came out. I think I bought it pretty near its release date. I'm going to be very careful with this because I don't like getting the plastic all minging. I bought it damn near its release date at the time, and like most of the games in my collection, growing up in the age of trade it in, get credit sort of thing. Yeah, I did just that. Who knows when. So this is really just a case of, well, that is a game I would like to have in my collection eventually, and today it was there, and it's not uncommon, but I have seen it for less cheap than this. A lot less cheap, like more like between £10 and £20. Maybe as little as 12, but maybe as much as like 15, 18, and £4, it's not really going to get cheaper than that, I don't think. And it's apart from the crud that I've now gotten on the plastic, which I'll clean off. It's in good condition, which is nice. It's the shiny version. I have seen versions that do not have this. This is the kind that I had originally. It looks good, it's got its instructions, not that it's the sort of thing that you really ought to be talking about too passionately with a game that's as common as this, but it is in pretty much perfect condition, which is nice. So it was a case of, why not now? I will have it. I would like to have it eventually. £4 is like no money, so pretty good. But I almost didn't buy it because I sort of hesitated because it's quite embarrassing really that I felt this way, but I just was imagining going up to the counter with it and sort of cringed a bit because Kingdom Hearts is pretty fucking stupid. I say that and admit to having a lot of fondness um, for this game and the first game, and I get the well, I without having played really any of the other games, that's true actually. I was interested in the Game Boy Advance game, the Chain of Memories, the first kind of spin-off, I think, when that came out, but I never ended up getting it, and I was probably playing these games around the right time to get, what is it, 325 over 2 days, whatever it's called, the DS one. But I think it came out late in the PAL region. I remember being aware of it, but not being able to buy it. Otherwise, I might have done. Anyway, uh, yeah. Despite having only played Kingdom Hearts one and two, um, it's all total nonsense. You know, the actual Kingdom Hearts storyline, ignoring all the Disney stuff, really. But it's something so persuasive about it. There's it's so easy to get drawn in and believe that it means something. I don't mean that in an allegorical sense, but just that it actually has anything other than a kind of manipulative emotional substance. And I mean that quite seriously. I really do think it's just pure. It is kind of pure emotional manipulative. It's just kind of glam. I don't know. It doesn't really have much substance intrinsically, but I think it has enough. I think it now has almost enough like kind of cultural capital in terms of it being a nostalgia icon for enough people that it does take on a kind of other meaning of with in terms of the meaning that people ascribe to it. Um, I am very fond of Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. They do, I mean, I'm saying it doesn't have any intrinsic meaning, but it does have meaning for me in a weird way. I revisited Kingdom Hearts 1 just the other year and I really enjoyed it and I got a lot out of it and I did kind of feel it, I did kind of get it, but that's maybe incidental. I don't want to, I'm kind of coming down quite hard on certain sides of certain fences right now, but Kingdom Hearts is very silly, but there's it's still don't know, it's persuasive. That's I think a good way of putting it. Actually, I'm satisfied with that description. And the game's good. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed playing Kingdom Hearts 1, having returned to it after years and years. When I played it just the other year, last year, or the year before. I remember Kingdom Hearts 2 being a bit more kind of hack and slashy. I mean, I just a little bit more. I think a little bit less technical. Too much in the way of special attacks and things that felt cool and felt impactful, but actually weren't really deepening the gameplay. And certainly the storyline gets even more convoluted and nonsensical. The prospect of replaying this, remembering how long it was and how much of the Disney World stuff there is that really doesn't have any bearing on the main storyline, and the stuff that feels good, that feels persuasive and feels meaningful about it. It's not a very inviting prospect, but I didn't get like tired of playing Kingdom Hearts 1 when I did replay it recently. So maybe I will. Certainly, I remember the first few hours of it, the kind of Roxas into the Sora bit before all the Disney World. Basically, I remember that very fondly. in the same way as the first few hours of Kingdom Hearts are, Destiny Islands into Traverse Town, it's great. It feels really exciting. It's like, I don't know, it's good. It's good stuff. I would certainly replay it to that point, and we'll see. I could see myself getting very tired of, all the Disney worlds, which I remember so many of them, and so little of it has any appeal to me. But we'll see, and yeah, I've actually seen quite a few Kingdom Hearts games kicking about in the shops recently. The ones I haven't played, and they're not expensive. I think I saw 328 over. I genuinely can't. I know it's kind of performative often when people fail to remember how to pronounce that name or even what it's called. It's kind of a bit of a meme, but I really can't remember what it's called. I can't remember the number. It's something 300 and something over 2 days. I think, but I don't remember the number. 328 over 2 days. 325 over 2 days. I don't know. I actually don't know. That was on sale, the S game, and so was, I think, Recoded. I think it was a DS game as well, maybe 3DS. They were both cheap, and it kind of appealed to me because I would, again, in a limited form, I could see myself. It's inviting, the prospect of trying out the other, exploring the Kingdom Hearts spin-off stuff, getting all the, I don't know, it's like extended universe stuff. I don't know. It is inviting. It is, again, kind of persuasive, but that's an enormous amount of time for something that that I don't necessarily have an enormous amount of confidence in with regards to its intrinsic value. But I think that's kind of in keeping with this whole project, isn't it? It's not nostalgic in a. I don't mean that in a kind of reductive, minimizing way. It is about, I suppose, following up how valuable these things seem to be, and how their value is inflated for me, based really on memory and their association alone. And Kingdom Hearts is a pretty good example of that, considering the intrigue associated with games I haven't even played. Eh, Cheers.